listening to the Orchestra Teacher Podcast. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Orchestra Teacher Podcast. This is Dr. Charles Laux, and this week, hope you're enjoying your summer break, by the way, because it is here, and we're right in the thick of it. Some of us are finishing up, and we're going to be talking to one of those people right now. This is Mac Meyer, and he is the orchestra director at Whitaker Middle School in Keizer, Oregon. And Mac and I crossed paths many years ago, just briefly, and been keeping up with him on Facebook. So welcome, Mac, to the Orchestra Teacher Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Charles. I'm excited to have the opportunity to talk to you, and I really appreciate everything you're doing for our orchestra community out there.
Well, we're going to learn all about you now. I know this was your 22nd year teaching.
Yes. Yeah, finishing
awesome.
22.
And did you do a few years in Ohio as well, or?
Yeah, my wife and I are both orchestra teachers.
Tell us about your background.
Yeah, so my wife Bridget and I both were at Ohio State with Bob, and started our careers in Columbus. She graduated a year before me, so she was in Dublin, teaching at two of the middle schools there. And then I started in Pickerington. I was 4 years in Pickerington, Ohio. I was at Central right when they opened the new school in Pickerington, and so I was at Central. We were there 4 years. Good, and Columbus was a great place to be. The string education community there is tremendous, and it really kind of shaped, I think, for us what we thought string education could be or could look like. I mean, anybody who goes to Columbus, you can walk into 5 different classrooms on the same day around town, and almost everybody's going to be in about the same spot doing about the same thing. Yeah, it was very, very cool and very unique. We didn't realize it at the time, but we were string educators, and we went to Ohio State, and the perception that we had at the time was, Columbus music education is marching band, and there's a lot of great things that happen in marching band. I'm a big supporter of marching band programs.
That's right.
And having grown up in Ohio, in parts of Ohio, but we wanted someplace where we could stretch our wings a little bit. So we did a year having to find 2 orchestra teacher jobs at the same time in the same place.
That's tricky.
So we had just had baby number 2, and we ended up in Cobb County for a year. And I was actually at McCleskey, which is just down the road.
It's like I'm a neighborhood school right here, and I did not know that you were here in Georgia as well.
We were in Cobb in the 07-08 year. And there it was a great community of teachers. I mean, I don't know too many places where you can have, the in-service day for orchestra and have 40 string teachers in a room.
It's a good sized district here, and the whole Atlanta metro area is with Gwinnett and Cobb and Fulton County, and then even Atlanta Public Schools has some great teachers as well. So I mean, we have an amazing network of teachers. And so, going into an in-service day with 40 plus, that's what it was like when I moved out to Las Vegas. My first job, it was like, because from being from Ohio, you have these little districts, and then you go into, I was in, Clark County School District out there, and it's the same thing. It's just booming and tons of teachers, and it just like opens up your eyes a lot. Yeah, I mean, it was going from where we had, I think Dublin, it was Bridget and Matt and a couple other guys, and then, Pickerington, it was the 2 of us. And to go to a mega district like that was eye-opening. And, there were a lot of great things. It wasn't the right fit for us and our family at that time. Yeah. And we were kind of looking for jobs. And my wife and I, Bridget and I, were both doing middle school at the time. And the opportunity in Olathe, Kansas opened up. And so we went out there. And actually that first year, she was at Olathe East, and I subbed for a year. Oh, wow. So, okay. Every day I was on the sub thing, and it was cool because I did start the year in a long term in Lee's Summit, and then I finished the year in a long term in Overland Park and Blue Valley. I guess I was in Shawnee Mission. And so it gave me the opportunity to see a lot of different classrooms. That's right.
Unfortunately, when you're subbing, you don't ever actually meet, hang out, but to really open my eyes to what other people's classrooms could look like.
Yeah. You see the good and the bad.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, thankfully, you know, that Kansas City metro area, there's very few that you go into and you're like, oh, what's happening here? Like, I was really fortunate that everybody's classroom I got to walk into was like, oh, this is really happening here. This is great. And so after that first year, a person who retired in the feeder area that Bridget was in. So I did a year of elementary. Then their elementary shifted from a high school, junior high, K6 elementary to a K5, 6, 8, 9, 12.
Yep.
She moved to the high school and picked up a couple elementaries, and I did the elementaries in the middle school.
Okay.
And I grew that program while I was there to 6 classes and stopped traveling, which was cool. And
it's nice to be in one building, that's for sure.
Yeah, being in one place at one time is awesome. So we were there 8 years. And we loved living in the Kansas City area. And we had our 3rd kid there, and we were ready to try something a little bit different. Honestly, the paycheck was the main motivating factor.
Right. I mean, it's just amazing geographically how teacher pay varies, you know, and I think, and sometimes it goes along with the cost of living, but at the same time, there are places that are expensive cost of living and the teacher's pay is still low. And then you do need to figure out, you know, what's going to work for you and what, if being happy in one place is just because you like it, or do you need more? I mean, do you want to provide more for your family? Yeah.
And that's kind of where we were. And it was probably the hardest decision I think we've had to make as a family. But people, when they're like, how'd you end up here? It's like, well, you know, we took a $15,000 pay increase a piece to move here.
Yeah.
And there's trade-offs. There's definitely trade-offs, but we're really happy to be in Salem Keizer. I mean, if we're going to be in Oregon, this is where string education is happening in this state. I mean, I can remember being, you know, an undergrad at Ohio State, and Bob had the job board, and like there was the Clark County page, because they were always hiring in 2002.
Yep.
And Salem Keizer always had jobs posted, and so they had a legendary music coordinator here, who really worked hard to protect these programs. And we chatted with him off and on at different times in our careers, and he had actually retired by the time we got here, but that's how we ended up here. And so now I'm in Oregon. Yeah.
And how many years have you been there?
Just finishing number 9.
Okay.
So this is the longest I've ever lived in one place.
Yeah. And you love it. That's great. Yeah. I've heard so many wonderful things about it up there. And was in Eugene back in 2015 at the MEA. That was a while back. But it's a great place, and beautiful state as well.
For sure.
So tell us about some of the things that maybe you would say like stand out in your teaching, or some of the things that you emphasize through your teaching. The Orchestra Teacher Podcast is sponsored by Kaleidoscope Adventures. Recruiting and retaining talented musicians is essential for new orchestra directors building a program. And one of my favorite tips for generating interest is to plan a trip. There are so many options. You can participate in a festival at an amusement park, take the stage at Carnegie Hall in New York City, or travel abroad and perform in Vienna, the legendary city of music. Wherever you end up, not only will your current students look forward to the trip, but younger students will count the days until it's their turn to go. If you have no idea where to start, connect with Kaleidoscope Adventures by visiting the link in the show notes. They've been planning exceptional performance travel since 1993 and will make you look like a seasoned professional.
Yeah, you know, as I've been listening back through a lot of your episodes, it's been nice because I knew I was going to talk to you, so I was like, well, what are some things he might ask me? And so I was like, I want to try to reflect on my own thing, and it's always interesting when we all kind of take a moment and reflect on like, what are we doing? What am I doing all day? Like, I think as musicians, we're inherently always thinking this isn't good enough.
100%.
But I think as soon as you stop thinking this isn't good enough, you're in trouble.
I agree. And you know, I just finished year 29, and I'm like, what are all the new things that I could do next year? I cannot wait. You know, that's the exciting part.
I mean, I think some of the things that are unique about like hallmarks of my teaching, I have a lot of energy. I mean, I think everybody has their own superpowers. And one of the things you got to discover over time is, what is your superpower? One of my superpowers is I have more energy than like normal humans. And so hair on fire is kind of my default setting.
Okay.
And so
you have a certain diet that you follow, or
yes, I eat a cream cheese everything bagel every morning.
Wow. Awesome.
I drink my 1.5 cups of coffee.
Fantastic.
On a good day, I get 2. So if you're lucky, I might finish this one and we'll get real wild. No, I mean, it's just my own energy level. And so my energy is always increased by the kids.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I tell them all the time, like, I don't teach real school. I don't want to teach real. Whatever happens over there, keep it down there. I'm in my own little world, and I have the best kids in the building. And anytime anyone walks in, they're like, "Oh, I can't believe you have all of these kids. These are all my favorite kids are here." I'm like, yeah.
We're the luckiest teachers too. I mean, I mean, it's work, of course, but it's work that I love, and it seems the same for you. And it's in every day, just tries to energize us a little bit more. And, there are frustrations, right? Of course, there are always frustrations, but it's so worth it. And this is great. I love to hear that you're the high energy. I feel like I am too. And sometimes a little too much for my, my second period class. When they come in, they're all half asleep. And I think it's great though.
No, they, for me, I mean, they're always amazed how high I can jump. I didn't know you could jump that high, Mr. Mayer. Like, yeah, I can. So let's go. I'm having to put out, I wish that 120% of me wasn't required to get 80% of you. But it's okay. But because we have like those high flyers, and I'm in a situation, it's the only middle school job I've ever had where we have ability-based groups.
Oh, that's great, isn't it?
Yeah. And so, the great part of it is my highs are higher than anywhere I've been able to be in my career. But the downside is my lows are lower,
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you pull the first 4 kids out of your violin section, violin number 5 isn't really first chair. They just got revealed.
Yeah, there are definitely pluses and minuses to ability-based grouping. But I do feel like when I was teaching in Las Vegas, I had that. And I mean, I had some really musical middle school groups that definitely would outperform some of my high school groups today, just based upon, musicality and their level. So there are pluses and minuses to it for sure.
Yeah. I appreciate that a lot. I mean, I think my energy, my honesty with people. I mean, I'm pretty black and white with things. And so whether you're a kid or a parent or an administrator or a colleague, like, nobody's wondering where I stand on things.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's important.
I think so. I think, and I one of my mentors is my dad, and he was my orchestra teacher. So he was
okay.
Heights,
okay.
From when we moved to Cleveland, 94. So he was at Cleveland Heights from 94 to I think 03. And so that's where I went to high school and played in the Cleveland Orchestra Youth Orchestra. But
oh man, awesome.
I
wasn't good enough to get into the Cleveland Orchestra Youth Orchestra.
I look back, man, and I was in that group for 4 years, and every weekend I was just running wild around Severance Hall.
Yeah, it's an amazing group, an amazing organization, just really high level, and you got great conductors and people working there. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. That's one of those things that really formed my thinking. But one of the things my dad has said to me over time is, never be so right that you can't possibly be wrong. And I take that to heart, where it's like, I believe this. What I'm saying right now, I'm all in on, but I'm always willing to listen to what other people have to say.
Yeah.
And there's lots of times where I'm wrong. And I think as teachers, being vulnerable in that way with students is really important. To say, whoa, stop. We have to redo that. This is that was bad conducting. We have to redo this. This is not about you. Your playing's beautiful. I messed up.
That's on me. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I can't really practice at home. I don't have an orchestra at home. So,
and I joke with my kids. I'm like, I get one today. That's mine. Okay, let's go. and they know I'm joking because everybody makes more than one mistake.
They know you need more than one, Mr. Laux.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna, things like that. I don't know. We were just my own transparency, my own honesty with stuff, my energy level, and I'm pretty relentless. There's a sign on my wall, be relentless.
Yeah.
And that started a long time ago with intonation, and it's got to be right. And if we have to go one by one with the drone on, we can do that.
There you go.
But you got to match and to not accept anything less than the very best. And I hope that students internalize that.
Well, I think so many kids today's, at least the students I have are really high academically focused, and pretty motivated, and they know that accuracy is important in getting the highest grade. So when I tell them, intonation is like 2 + 2, it's always 4. It's never 3.99. It's never 4.00001. And that's, if you want to be in tune, this is what we're looking for, is 2 + 2 is 4. And I write it on my board real big, and just so they understand, like, this is there is a right answer to intonation.
Yeah, and
it's not easy to achieve. It's way harder than 2 + 2.
I think I heard you say that, and I was like, yeah, that's going in my
put it in your backpack. Yeah,
that's right.
It's fun to be able to borrow from people, and I don't know. I mean, my whole dissertation was on intonation, so for me, this is as Michael Alexander from Baylor called it, a moral premise as well. But yes, it's important.
Well, and it's a lot of us do these adjudicated events, and we go and we get our feedback, and so much of it is subjective. But intonation's not subjective. Yeah. It's right or it's wrong. Rhythm isn't subjective. It's right or it's wrong. Yeah. Like, your style can be subjective. Your interpretation, your tempo, what you chose to program today, that's subjective.
Yeah.
But you're out of tune is not it's not up for debate.
I said if your grandma's never played an instrument and you come into the concert and play out of tune, your grandma's going to know that you're wrong.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who's listening.
So I mean, I think things like those are some of my fundamental intonation and holding that line with things like that.
Yeah. That's awesome. Do you have any warm-ups that you do? I mean, I heard you mention the drone, and I'm a huge fan of the drone. What are some? Do you do some different what are some warm-ups maybe that you use with your kids that you find effective, or just procedures?
For me, ear training, and that goes along with the intonation, it starts from day one, and so I do a ton of echoes, and like, I'm a native bass player. I grew up playing bass, and so. And I tell my kids, especially my bass players, like, I used to do this, and I would be in the back of the orchestra and I would cry. There would be tears, and I was like 13, like,
yeah.
Even still, it stresses me out. Like, if I'm in a session and there's like, let's do a call and response, and I'm holding the bass, like, it's so hard to hear those octaves.
You displace 2 octaves.
Yeah. And so it starts from the beginning. I mean, my call to attention for my beginners is D, D, and I don't say anything. And if I have to
do it again,
and you do it again, and that's the call to attention. And I don't need to tell you what to do, because D, D, E, and there's a pattern to it, and it's always the same.
Well, you've sequenced it,
Yes,
and that's important.
So I mean, that starts from my youngest kids, and that never goes away. And so I would say most of my warm-ups are always echo patterns.
Are all based,
and that gets us playing. And then, I'm big on scales. We all start with D, but D goes to G. G goes to C. Upper octave G, upper octave C, and then 2 octaves. And then you start just sequencing all of it together. So I think that's probably my main thing. And then as I steal from other friends, really trying to do like just an open string cycle. I'm really big on, it was when I tell my students, when I was a kid, my parents would say, well, you have to practice X number of minutes. And so I would do long tones for 10 minutes. I tricked you. I was like, that was the smartest thing I ever did was putting that metronome on and counting and breathing. And my friend Damian Bardakin over at South Salem, he gave a whole session on this, and his opening thing is he's really great about having students be grounded and aware and like, can you feel your toes? What be aware of your breathing and all of that kind of stuff. But taking them through the string sequence, whole note, half note, 2 quarters, 1 quarter, 2/8, 4/16, back it out to eighths, triplets. I do string crossings where it's like half notes, 2 string. And so like G, D, D, A, E, E, A, and then I go to 3. And so the sequence being like, over, back, so we've got 3 string and they're having to control, because you know how it is. You get out and you're like, oh, crud, I got. So, and getting them to be aware of like, how close can you get your hair to the next string without touching it? Yeah. Because when we are really crossing strings, it has to happen fast. So you want to be there so you're not cranking over. It's just, it's very subtle.
More efficient. Yeah.
Yes.
Being efficient. Well, those are fantastic. I was also just thinking as we were talking about those echoes, because the bass players do struggle. Maybe we should attempt at modeling more of these echo sequences on the bass and making the violins have to work to listen up 2 octaves.
Only if you want a lot of frustrated kids. I mean,
it's okay to have only a few frustrated bass players. Everybody else, we don't want them.
Well, and they got to figure it out. They got to.
Yeah, they do. They do figure it out pretty quick.
I will do it sometimes, but even when I play on a 5-string viola, and so even when I will just go down 1 octave, I'm like, all right, I'm going to play this in the cello zone. And it's like D major. And those violin players like,
they can't do it.
I'm like, yes, it's the same note.
Yeah, well, that's the violin prima donna. No, attitude. I can't do this unless it's for me. No, okay. That's great. That's great. These are fun. How about programming? You have some favorites or some new pieces that you've discovered recently? I mean, one of my favorite things to do is obviously play pieces I've played before because I get to like rethink them and just recreate them. And every group's going to approach them differently and handle them differently and perform them differently. Yeah. But I also love exploring new stuff too. So do you have any things that you've or like tried, maybe how about some tried and trues that you use all the time, maybe lesser known, because I've also found teaching in different geographical locations that there are certain areas of the country that this piece is our favorite and this piece is our favorite, and it depends on composers. Like when I moved to Florida, it was why can't I think of his name now? I'm blanking. Carol Nunez, and he had taught down there, and not everybody that I had worked with before knew a lot of Carol Nunez stuff, and it was just like, boom, everybody wanted to play Carol Nunez.
I love Carol Nunez.
I know, me too.
I definitely combed through all 5 pages of everything he wrote and was like, I'm buying this. Have I ever played Convergence? No.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
I haven't. Do I own it? I do. Because maybe one day. Have I read chapter 1? Yeah, I've read it, but
for middle school, chapter 1's
weird.
Chapter 1's pretty tough, and it does take a while for kids to get used to the harmonic understanding of this is 20th century harmony. We need to get used to this, and and just like when I went to college, I don't think I was versed enough in 20th century harmony, so it took me a long time to really figure that out. But then I love now I love Hindemith, and I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Programming wise, I'm kind of a nerd on that kind of stuff. But I came up in the early 2000s, and so I really consider the late 90s and early 2000s kind of like a golden era of string rep. Mm-hmm. Where string programs had really taken hold across the country, and people wanted more than their Leidig and Isaac arrangements. Right. And so then people wanted more than a Robert Frost written thing, and they wanted more than Sandy Dackow's arrangements. And so there was really
not that those aren't great, because they all are.
No, exactly. But it's like
we want more.
I like the history of things, and so I like to know kind of like, how do we get here? And music composition wise, so I really feel like that early 2000s was a really big explosion time, and it was when I was most impressionable. So unfortunately, I would say a lot of my programming is stuck in 2007 or early. So I do go through new stuff. Tried and true. What do I love? I mean, I love playing Dragon Hunter with fifth graders.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And
who doesn't?
I love.
My seniors did it this year. I mean, as their throwback, they did a piece from a movie, but then they also did. They're like, "Can we play Dragon Hunter at the concert just for a throwback?" I'm like, "Yes, why not?" And they loved it. They're like all smiling, and it's like, yeah, it's great.
I was able to hire. I was able to hire Richard to come out and conduct our. I chaired the middle school. I co-chaired the middle school All-State. So I was able to have Richard come out last year. And I was like, Richard, can we do Dragon Hunter as like an encore? Because then I had Doug Spada a few years ago. I was like, Doug, we got to do Gauntlet.
Yeah.
You know? He's like, yeah, sure. So Richard was classics. Like, and so he wrote a special feature solo for each section of the orchestra at the end of Dragon Hunter to close our All-State.
That's great.
That was awesome. And like it featured all the kids. They stood up and they play. I mean, if you ever have the chance to have Richard come out and work with your students, he's tremendous.
I've met him several times, and he's a magical individual. I probably need to try to see if he has time to come on the podcast, because that would be an awesome guest.
I'm not going to speak for Richard, but I'm pretty sure he's got time.
Okay, I'm going to reach out.
So. I mean, programming is the name of the game.
Yeah.
I do a lot of adjudicating, and it's always about programming. So, I think big picture, like, don't pick a piece of music to teach a skill.
There you go.
Music is the means. It's not the end. Mm-hmm. And when you work on something, so that we can refine this one song. And I mean, I use the word song because it's fairly flippant. Mm-hmm. When that goes away, the skills have to be there. And so often the skills required to execute it, you hand them the next piece and it's the same thing. And they're like flubbing around on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell my kids, I said, do you want to be the kids that leave this program to be able to play anything? Or do you want to be able to play just 3 pieces for this concert and 3 pieces for this concert that you've learned? Like, no, like my goal is to make you independent, competent, confident musicians. And you're going to need this. These are the skills that will get you there and be able to make this last a lifetime. Otherwise, you could play, St. Paul Suite, but that's great. But you're going to need more than that. And I hope that you'll be able to look
what's
further
happening
than that.
In this piece of music that it makes it sparkle.
Yeah.
What's the essence of this? And that's what's transferable. So, we're all online, and what's a great piece to learn to play F natural? I don't know. How about the F major scale? That's pretty good to start with.
D minor, F major.
So like,
yeah.
I really focus on trying to get music that we already have the skills. We've played these, I don't pick a piece of music to teach shifting. We're already shifting. We've been shifting for a while, and now this piece calls on it. But really, you don't have to go to third position on the E string to shift.
Yeah.
And there's lots of opportunities to shift and to think, horizontally before you get called to the position by requirement.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think another one is like, when you want to play something lyrical, go 1 grade level down. If you got a grade 3 group, do not program grade 3 slow.
Yeah.
Because they're going to chow.
Yeah. William Holfelt will be thankful that we don't play his grade 3, which are beautiful, but they're like, they need to be played by a grade 4 orchestra or more.
Yeah.
Like some of those grade 3 pieces he has.
I think Bridget's, we're talking about mentors, like my dad, my wife, we we have a lot of PLC time on the couch and at dinner. And,
Yeah.
one of the millions of great pieces of advice that she has given to me and her student teachers is like, she kind of has a formula of just like a classical, a fiddle, a new.
There you go.
If you can stick to kind of that formula, especially in young and intermediate orchestras, like you don't have to seek so much stuff. It kind of gives you like a lane to stay in.
That's a good formula. Yeah.
And you can almost never go wrong with that. I mean, I've gotten away from it some over time, but I always try to come back to that.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, my favorite pieces are, I love Danza, the Nellie Bell Danza.
Yes, that's an oldie, but a great piece.
I got to do that again this year.
Nice.
That was one where like when I changed schools, I had to contact the person who took over for me at the last school. It's like, I need you to find the Danza and I need you to send me my score.
Yeah. Right.
I'll send you a new one, but I need that one back.
Yeah.
Because it's like, when I had programmed it, I was doing some grad school stuff and we were working on like Le Bon conducting stuff. It's got like dab, it's got all these little moves in it. Cool. I need that back.
Yeah, that's sometimes in the midst of rehearsals and things, like your notes that you put in your score are just gold, and then obviously score study, but sometimes those impromptu notes are gold. Yeah, that's why I switched to my iPad. I use all digital stuff, so when I do pull a piece back up, my markings are all there still.
That's one of the reasons I would consider it, but I can't get there yet.
Some people like the paper. They like
yeah. My kid is an all iPad. My middle one is my all-state, all Northwest violinist. He just graduated last week and he has vision. So like he's always been on an iPad. So on his iPad, one measure of music is the size of an iPad. So he plays like looking through a keyhole. It's like looking through the peephole of the door. That's how he perceives music, which is wild. But he's got all these files and the foot pedal and the whole deal.
Yeah.
Some of our band director colleagues in town, they've got like the ring that changes the pages.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, you could do that too. Yeah.
I'm just like,
I'm always afraid that I would accidentally do it though. So I'm a foot pedal guy.
Yeah, my kid's a foot pedal guy. So gosh, the Danza, I love the Serenade for Strings, the Layden, who actually is an Oregon guy. I didn't know.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, he was a clarinet player and he was in Portland. And so my orchestra played at OMEA, 2018 now, but like, music finds you. I always believe music finds you. And even when you have a competition season, I'm not a start it in May and then work it till April kind of guy. Yeah. I'm not even. I've tried the let's do this one in the fall and we'll shelve it and we'll bring it. I start in January, February for April. That's enough.
Yeah,
that's enough.
Yeah.
But the Layden was one I wanted to do, and then I did the Danza and I did Maurice Whitney's Dance Suite for Strings, and it came together. I have an old school that has a really deep library back to like the mid 60s.
Nice.
Maurice Whitney, Dance Suite for Strings.
Okay.
Very tasty.
I'm writing this down.
Very tasty. And it's like a solid grade 2.5.
Okay. Yep.
It's got like, it's got a little allemande and it's got,
Is it still in print though?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, that's great. See, these are the gems that I'm looking for when I talk to people about rep. It's like, I never heard of it before, and you say it's amazing. I'm going to take your word for it. I'm going to look at it.
That's a good one. I did that. So like all of those, the thread became like all of those guys were like music educators. Nellie Bell was writing for young orchestra, and like that resonates with me. I love. What have I done? Like I did the Foch Symphony in G. Somebody before me had bought that. That's a winner.
How do you spell the last name?
Fasch, and that's at Laux.
Okay. And it's called what?
Symphony in G.
Okay.
It's just a little, you can do all four movements. We ran out of time. We did 1, 2, and 3. It's got a great grave.
And what level is that?
3.
Okay.
What did we play last year? Oh shoot, I can't think of it. I'd have to poke around on my computer. Somebody did it for their UIL in Texas, and I was like, ooh, but like the composer, was the main piece that they play, that everybody plays, but it was not that one. So that's very helpful information I'm giving you. I really like music that is composed, that is original music that's composed for that grade level. And, you know, when I adjudicate and I watch high schools, and it drives me insane when folks are programming contemporary composers at a grade 4 and 5. I know I don't want to like step on any toes. I'm friends with lots of people, but like I love Richard's music, but I don't really schedule him over a grade 3 because once you get into that world, there's so much real music and like that's out there, like that's part of the literature. And so yes, play Soon-He's music, play Richard's music, you know, play all Brian Balmages' stuff. They're terrific composers. They've done so much for what we're doing, but they're not the only thing. The editor's choice list isn't where you have to go if you got a grade 4. I mean, my goodness, once you get to that zone.
Yeah, there's a lot out there that's available for sure.
Yeah. I love doing the capriole. I mean, I can't do all of them, but I can do 1, 2, 6. I can do 6 with my top middle school group.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That.
So,
nice.
That's the programming thing. Like, well, I can talk about that all day.
Yeah. Well, it's, you know, and it's one of the hardest, I feel for me, it's one of the hardest things I have to do. But one of the most important things I have to do, to make sure that my kids are getting the experience that they need. And, you know, when orchestras suffer, it really is because of the programming, which is being most of the time too adventurous. I never said, "Oh, this is all way too easy." I've never told a group that's all way too easy for them.
You know, and that's always a thing. Like, I don't think anybody sandbags. I don't think anybody shows up and like, okay, well, we're all going to do this. We're all going to dumb it down. We're going to dial it down so everybody thinks we got, like, that's not a thing. I
hope not.
I am very mindful that when I hear a group play something very well, I'm very complimentary and say, you know, this group is ready for, I think this group is ready, but I don't know. Because we who hear this group, you know, we're pushing pencil. We don't know what it took to get that.
Yep.
We don't know what it took to get that piece of music. But I think a lot of us have been to events where, you know, in the recording or on the paper, like, well, this is too easy for this group. No, we did our job because we made it sound easy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's ultimately what you want is beauty, musicality, expression, you know, and kids are fighting for notes. It's hard. And, you know, we all have the best intentions for our kids. And we want the best for them, but we do have to look at what's real too. So, you know, I'm still guilty of it here and there. And so
we all have clunkers and we're all like,
Yep.
This was, you know, but I always come back to like the Angry Birds analogy, which I guess I need to find a new name, a new game.
It's not cool anymore, Mac.
But like, I was like, guys, you remember Angry Birds? Like, yeah, I'm like, remember when you knock them all down, you get like a 1 star? Like, yeah, you could move on, but like once we can play all the notes, that's a 1 star.
Yeah.
We knocked them all down, maybe on accident, but we knocked them all down. You know, we need a 2 and we need a 3-star performance. Like that's the level of refinement where you can like, bing, I got them all in one shot. Like that's kind of one of the analogies I give them. And
that's great.
I expect the final performance. It doesn't change. Like the refinement of my advanced orchestra and the refinement, I expect the same thing with my intermediate, my youngest or my 5th graders, because I get to pick the music, you know? And so
you're setting the standard.
The final product should be the same. It should sound flawless. It should sound great. Your music's not as hard.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's the main thing on the programming thing. But and we have to teach taste, because if we let kids eat candy, they will eat candy.
Right. Yep.
And so we have to say, how about this? And then when I hear all my older kids like working on audition stuff or youth orchestra stuff, and they're like, oh, that's kid music. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's important that we teach them, because it's I forget what piece it was last year, but I said, trust me. And I said, give it some time. I said, it will grow on you. And it did. I just forget what piece it was now. One of our slower pieces, and like, we just don't like this one. We don't, blah, blah, like get all the grumbles, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we start making something out of it. We start shaping it a little bit, and then it's like, oh, now I really get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to find that one that I can't remember while we chat.
Oh, okay.
But anyway,
yeah, no, this is great conversation. And so, what are some of the other things that you're seeing in the profession that either are like, yes, this is great, or I'm a little concerned about this? That's a big can of worms, I know.
All right, I'm going to try not. I won't make anybody too upset. I was very nervous to talk to you because sometimes I say things that are inflammatory.
Well, this is the beauty of recording and editing, Max. So.
Thank you for protecting me from myself. I need all the help I can get. I number one is collegiate programs that have string education offerings. Mm-hmm. My perception of what is normal is I went to Ohio State. I worked with Bob Gillespie. And in the moment when you are 20 years old and you're like, oh, this guy, blah, blah, and then you're like, oh, it's not like this everywhere. Mm-hmm. And not every institution, of course, can have a string ped program, but gosh, there are sure a lot of now Power 4 schools that still don't.
Right.
It exacerbates. So, when I was in Kansas, KU hired Jacob Jakin, and I did my master's with Jacob.
Oh, okay.
Now is in
he's in
your
area.
area.
Yeah, he's right here. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I did a summer school thing, and they started a summer master's, which was great. And I was waiting for there to be a string ped thing. Like, I was like, oh, maybe I'll take a year off of school. My third year of teaching. Maybe I'll take a year off of school and go to Florida State. My wife's like, well, we have kids, so that's not a thing that's going to happen.
It's hard to do to just pick
up. But, I got to work with Jacob, and it was just him and the two of us, right? And so he would like work on a whole lecture, and I would sit across from him, and he would lecture, and I would take notes, and I would just spend an hour and a half trying to get him off topic. It was great. It was super fun. So I hope Jacob hears this.
Yeah.
He knows. So I think college programs having that opportunity, if you are at a school that doesn't have that, where the expectation for learning to teach heterogeneous public school orchestra is that you took a semester of lessons with an adjunct or a grad student or a professor.
Right.
I would encourage you to seek out like the Ohio State String Teacher Workshop is number one. I mean, I told a kid last week, like, you need to go.
They're still taking registrations for that for July.
Hopefully I can maybe squeeze out there and go this summer. We'll see. But learning how to teach for at the collegiate level, as the pendulum swings around, we're in a time now where younger upcoming teachers have been there's a lot of focus on like your own self-care and your own, and that's super important. Like, yes, take care of yourself, but like, you still got to show up on time.
Yeah.
You got to come to school on time. You got to dress for the part. And I live in a part of the country where you can wear whatever you want to school, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Dress for the job that you want. Like, I vividly remember my student teaching and Bob saying, you need to wear a tie
every day. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I was like, really? He's like, you need to wear, but like, when I started teaching high school and I was 23 years old, and the kids in my orchestra were 18.
Yeah.
Like, I had to wear a tie so that they were like, "Where's your hall pass?"
Yeah.
So I think a level of professionalism, and then just get involved. Like, the most important thing I think for young folks is, like, young teachers, is you see people who are like, "Oh, well, they're really doing it," or "I think that's good," and follow those people.
Right.
But anybody can ask me anything and they're going to get an answer. Anybody can contact you. You know, whether it's the ask to mentorship thing, it doesn't need to be that drastic.
Right.
Just talk to people and look for opportunities to help. If you go to an OMEA or a state convention and there's an all-state thing happening, if you show up to help move chairs, people aren't going to say, "Get out of here." They're like,
right.
"Thank you." You know?
Right. Yeah.
And that's how you get involved. And the next thing you know, it's like, "Oh, well, we have a lot of need for people to be involved."
Mm-hmm.
So going in that direction,
yeah, you got to continue learning, you know. And I wanted to go to the Born-Off workshop this year, and it's not working out in my summer schedule with vacations and whatnot. So I'm like, how about next year? So whatever it's going to be next year, I'm going, and I cannot wait. It's like another part of teaching that I haven't really explored fully, even though I'm a huge finger pattern person. Mm-hmm. But this is going to be great. I can't wait. I can't wait to explore that and learn more, and just broaden my horizons a little bit more. So.
Yeah, get involved, and just mentorship is really important. The apprenticeship style of what we do is really important, and learning your own cadence, your own style, and what you can steal from people. I mean, there's always stuff you can steal, and I don't think anybody is offended when you take something that they do and make it your own.
Right.
Like, stop using that strategy. That's my strategy.
Yeah. You can't copyright a strategy. Well, I guess you could if it was in written form, but why would you write it down if you want people to use it? Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this has been fantastic, Mac. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think it was awesome. All the pieces that you gave us, and just some of your ideas. And
I got the one I was looking for.
What is it?
All right. It's the Christoph von Gluck. It's the Gluck Overture in D major. So there's another
von Duke?
Gluck. Gluck.
Oh, Gluck. Okay.
The Gluck.
But Christoph.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
it's called what?
I did the first movement, the Allegro.
What is the piece called again?
It's just Overture in D major.
Overture in D. Okay.
But it's a solid, like,
is it an original?
Three.
Or is it arrangement?
It's original.
Cool.
It's original. What else did I do on that? I did like the Dynasty. That was a good one. And Lullaby. That was last year's set.
Lullabies, yeah. Can't beat Lullaby.
Sorry, back on the programming.
Yeah. No, this is wonderful. This is so great. But I appreciate you being taking the time out to meet. Your school ends. When did you say your school?
Tomorrow. Tomorrow's the half day. So
wonderful.
Yeah, one more day. Elementary school's finished today, and so.
And then when do you go back?
You
don't even want to know right now.
I don't know. that last week of August we have teacher stuff, and so kids start. We get that little half day for the sixth graders and the freshmen on that Tuesday after Labor Day.
Okay, so you go back in September.
Yeah. So I make sure to take as many pictures of me doing fun stuff in August, because right now I get to watch everybody like, I've already been to Europe and back, and I'm like, I'm in school, man. That's great.
Yeah, it's everybody's, but in the end, it's pretty much everybody has the same number of days of school they have to go in.
For the most part.
Yeah.
I think so.
About that.
It's okay. It's beautiful here in August.
Yeah.
And, we don't have the infrastructure for air conditioning. It got into like the upper 80s this week, and kids are wild, man. It's like it gets to be like 78 degrees, and people in Oregon are like, oh my gosh, it's so hot here. I'm like,
yeah,
what are you talking about?
That's so funny.
But
that's so
every place is different, Every place is different.
Yeah. Well, enjoy your summer, and we will see you all next time on the Orchestra Teacher Podcast. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening. You can support the work I do by hitting that like button and subscribing to the Orchestra Teacher Podcast YouTube channel and visiting www.orchestrateacher.net.